For KDSJ Local Sports, Clayson Davis reporting. It's time for our postseason preview as we preview some area teams that have qualified for the first or second round of their respective playoff brackets, as we start off with some 9-man football in Class 9 at AA. Coach Brett Eckert of the Hill City Rangers joins us here on KDSJ. Coach Eckert, thanks for the time.
Oh, yeah, thanks for having me.
Guys had a dominant round 1 win last week, and describe that dominant first round win you guys had at the Hill City Ranger Field.
Yeah, had Great Plains Lutheran in our first round matchup, and boys came out and played pretty well. We were able to come out and kind of establish some stuff, especially with our run game. Run backs ran really well, so that kind of got us going. And then with that, we were able to just kind of intersperse our pass in there as well, and made some big plays, which allowed us to really get rolling and get the wind in our sails offensively. And then defensively, we played a pretty clean game. Allowed 140 yards rushing and another 20 passing, so 160 yards in 9-man football is okay.
And yeah, talking about your offense, as in 9-man football, we see a lot of teams like to get in bunch formations under center, run the ball. You guys like to spread some teams out and use your athleticism, a little bit different from a traditional 9-man team. So describe how you guys use your guys' athletes to get them in space and use this spread attack that's been modified down to 9-man football.
Yeah, so for us, a lot of it comes to just personnel. You know, a lot of teams that, like you said, go into those bunch formations, they have big bodies up front. We're a little bit smaller on the offensive line, and we don't have as many guys who are big on the offensive line. So with that, as well as combining that with our athletes, we have a lot of guys who are pretty quick, fairly good little athletes, but once again, kind of undersized. We feel that by spreading teams out, does a couple things. One is it opens up wider running lanes for us. And then the second is we're usually able to try to get our balls to guys in space. And then just if you spread it out, it allows our guys to have to break one tackle and they might bust it the rest of the way. So we just kind of believe that by spreading teams out, it makes it a little bit harder to defend us because of our athleticism and the ability of our guys to make plays.
What were some of the expectations coming into this 2025 season?
Yeah, our expectations were to hopefully be where we are right now. That was kind of what we were hoping. So coming in, that was our mindset all along is hopefully come in, play well, get better every week, and just try to be 1-0 every week was kind of our goal. So it's kind of been exciting knowing that we had the capability to be this far. And in the second round, this is only the second time in a 2-year period in which Hill City's ever made the second round back-to-back years. So we knew we had the capabilities to get deep, but as most people know, you got to stay healthy and you got to be kind of playing pretty good mistake-free football. So we've been able to do that, see where it goes from here, because every team that's playing now is good. So every game's a good game.
And looking at last year, Coach, your first year of a 9-man football in as many years, and you guys had a dynamic offense as well with a dynamic quarterback, and you guys also lost some athletes due to graduation from last season, and you guys seem to have replaced those pretty well this season. Who have been some of those players that have stepped up into key roles of this 2025 campaign?
Well, yeah, as you kind of mentioned, lost a handful of athletes. Most of them were actually more linemen or defense. So losing Grayson Ron he played a wideout for us. That kind of was a little ding because of graduation. And then also, obviously, our starting quarterback was Devin Bueller last year. So losing those two hurt. But we believed we had a really good core group from last year returning, such as like Mason Weiss, he plays running back and some slot for us. Caleb Sobolik, he's been taking most of our tailback reps as well. He also goes out to a wideout. He's a really dynamic runner. So those two kind of in our backfield. You got Zane Messick, who we believe is a really talented wide receiver out on one side. And then you got Nick Schrader, who kind of floats just about everywhere out of our wide receiver spot. He's a guy who can catch and can run. So all those guys, I think the biggest change, though, without a doubt, was the move of last year's All-State tight end was Brenton Benecloss. And we ended up pulling the trigger in our summer camps and moved him to quarterback. He had played quarterback a little bit before, but we had decided that was who we were going to go with for our starting quarterback position, and he's played great. So that move has definitely been a big piece in us being as successful as we are this season.
And talk about a little bit more about that move for Brinson Venenclassen, moving from tight end to quarterback, and how you got him in the flow of how to run your offense, especially in a spread offense, being able to run and throw the ball. And how has he adapted to perform both of those tasks at a high level?
Yeah, well, some of it is you guys kind of put the athlete where the athlete should go is kind of what it boils down to for a lot of it. And then the nice thing is he knew all of our stuff anyways. He had played quarterback a little bit. His sophomore year, he had played quarterback for us, but then last year, with being so integral in our passing offense and our running offense, he already knew blocking assignments. He already knew all of our pass combos. So it's actually kind of a fairly easy transition. It wasn't like just a wideout who doesn't know any of the blocking schemes, because with playing tight end, you have to know blocking schemes. So him coming in, we were able to get him under center, get him a lot of good quality reps in our summer camp. And then once we got into fall camp, and it's just kind of just slowly incorporating him in and helping him get his feet wet, understand how we do it, what we're looking for. And he's a pretty smart kid. He's like a straight A student, so that makes it easier too when you're talking to him and you can explain stuff and he understands it and picks it up really quickly. So that transition for him was pretty seamless. I think the biggest piece was the thing we had kind of had a little concern with is when you run speed option and dive option as much as we do, kind of that dive mechanics, but surprise, like not maybe a surprise, because like I said, he's a pretty good athlete across the board. He was able to pick it up really well and like kind of hone the skills in, and he did it in a very short amount of time. So, I mean, that was kind of our biggest concern. We knew he could throw the ball. We knew he could run because he's a big physical kid. But the biggest thing was the option mechanics, and he picked those up lickety split. So it's kind of exciting to see him just transition into it so easily.
As head coach of the Hill City Rangers, Coach Brett Eckert joins us with our postseason preview on KDSJ Sports. What was the major turning point this season that you guys kind of had the aha moment and realized that you guys could really do some damage?
For our boys, we had kind of the aha moment right away. We kind of felt we could be pretty good, but I think the big one was when we were able to beat Harding County in a pretty big game for us. Last year they got us up at their place and they got a win, and I think our kids kind of had a little bit of a sour taste in regards to how that one went, and they kind of had marked on their schedules that they wanted to try to beat Harding County, and Harding County is always good. Like, they're a good football program, regardless of how late or not late they're playing into the postseason right now. They're a good football team. So being able to beat a really good football team gave us a lot of confidence. And then from that moment on, our kids just kind of really believed that, we can be in that top tier. We believe that we are one of the, at least in contention for some of those top spots. And I think that's kind of was the big turning point, is that game against Harding County for us.
Any injuries on your football team heading into Hamlin?
Actually, surprisingly, we're pretty healthy. We have one guard, Andreas Hernandez. He's bummed up with a pretty bad ankle right now. So he's most likely not going to play. But I mean, he'll probably be back after this week if we're lucky enough to keep playing. So yeah, we lost a starting guard, but otherwise, as far as all of our skills and our other offensive linemen and everybody, we're pretty healthy otherwise.
Looking at the playoff bracket, when it was first released in a 9AA, you guys were a 5 seed, which you would still have a first round playoff game at home. But if you made it to the second round and the 4 seed advances, you would have to go on the road. You and Hamlin switched spots, so now the Chargers will have to come all the way over to Hill City. Talk about what a major advantage that would be, you guys hosting Hamlin compared to you guys having to go to their place.
It's like 6.5 hours. That's the advantage. It's about a 6.5 hour drive, I believe. So I'm like, that's a lot. I mean, you're going to have to go right away in the morning, wake up, get on the bus, and you got to have your stops along the way. And it's just a lot nicer to be at home because you don't have the bus flags. At the same point, it's also nice to be able to play in front of your home crowd. That's kind of an exciting thing for us. We were blessed to be able to play in front of our home crowd for 2 home playoff games last year. We didn't win the one, but being able to host is really, really a great feeling, especially with the amount of community support and the amount of people who come out to the games and are just excited for football here in Hill City. So, I mean, it's just a really cool experience. It's great for our kids to have it. So, I mean, that's a huge advantage to be able to play in your home field. You have your normal routines. Nothing really changes compared to if you're on a 6.5 hour bus trip, you're going on through all sorts of different adjustments to your normal routine. So for us, we just love having the normal routine of being at home and just lucky to play another game here.
Looking at your second-round opponent, it's the Hamlin Chargers, and they've been ranked in the top 5 throughout most of the season, much like you guys have. And what do you see on film from Hamlin that gets your guys ready to go, and what you'll need to be ready for when the Chargers roll into Hill City?
Yeah, very straight up, the Hamlin's in the top 5 rankings for a really good reason. They're a really good football team, and they're a lot of fun to watch. They do a lot of stuff offensively that really utilizes their athletes and tries to manipulate defenses and take advantage of what defenses do. So watching them on film, we know that they've got some dudes. They've got some good athletes. They got a decent offensive line who are fairly physical. They get off the ball well. They're a good offensive line, and then they got a lot of athletes who they know how to utilize. You got probably, without a doubt, probably one of the better quarterbacks in the state with Wadsworth. He can throw a ball. He can run. So he's really dynamic. They got Leonardi, who's their tail. He's a guy who can kind of slice and dice you a little bit. He's not a true just straight power back. I think he's a nice blend of a power back and a scat back because he makes cuts that are just amazing. So we know that he's a pretty good running back, and we're going to have to be able to limit his yards after first contact. And then you've got, in my opinion, probably one of the best receivers in the state too on their team with the Stevenson boy. I mean, he's just an absolute dude. So they are going to target him, and we know that, and we need to be able to try to have a way to try to stop him and limit his catches and limit what he can do. We know that they're going to be a really good football team. And then defense, that's just on offense. And then on defense, they fly around and they hit stuff. Like they're sound defensively. They're very disciplined. They play physically. Their linebackers playing really well and downhill and physical against the run. So for us, we're just going to have to be able to, for us offensively and defensively, we have to be sound. We have to do our jobs. And we just have to play a clean game.
Awesome. Well, Coach, thank you for the time, and looking forward to seeing the Hill City Rangers in action this Thursday.
Well, thanks.